Hi, Kristie. Welcome to the new episode of our series of interviews, and I'm very glad to have you as a guest today. And the topic that we are about to, let's say, demystify is workation, and we'll dive into more why workation is still a buzzword and not something that many understand. But yeah, first of all, welcome and nice to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and really excited to hear more about your experiences and your, well, let's say, lifestyle. So, for people who don't know you, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you get involved in this lifestyle that you have with your work and your private life?
Yeah. So I'm originally from the US and I have my background is I'm about 20 years experience in the corporate world in accounting and finance. And I um, had always loved to travel, but vacation time was very limited in the US. And I kind of fell into this trap of wanting to climb the corporate ladder and focusing on my career. And then I think in my early 40s, I kind of hit a midlife crisis of sorts where it's like, oh, okay, I have this great job, I have great stuff, I have an office with a window, which was always my like dream. Um, but then it was like, I can't do this for 20 more years. And so I kind of knew I had to do something different with my life. And so in this like really weird turn of events, I had an opportunity to, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, to take some, I basically, uh, I got laid off and I thought, wow, this is like God pointing me in the direction of something different instead of just rolling into finding another job or whatnot. So I took that opportunity to start traveling with my partner. He has a real estate company that he started with the intention of being able to do it from anywhere in the world. So he's fully remote. I was the one that was tied to like an office. Then I got untied and we threw our stuff in storage and hopped a flight to Europe. And that was in August of 2020. And we've been basically traveling. Our stuff is still in storage. Yes, we pay stupid amount of money to pay to store our stuff, but it gives us optionality at least. But we still kind of basically are full time travelers. And I told myself in that first year of traveling, I didn't need to worry about work. I was sort of like, I just need some time off. I thought, you know, I never had children, so I never had like a maternity leave or anything. And so I sort of took this as like, well, I needed some time off. So for that first year, we just traveled. And in 2020, it was kind of tricky to travel because of the pandemic. And so we ended up, a long story short, we ended up flying to Serbia as the first point and then spent a little time there. And then we spent most of our time in Croatia. And actually, we've been going to Croatia like every year ever since. So, um, but uh, yeah, so sorry. So in the course of traveling, I wasn't worried about working per se, but my mind was always thinking about opportunities or how could I help the world, right? Or how could I do something to help people? And that's where I started thinking about this whole concept of traveling while working remotely. Like in my mind, that had always been something that the kids did, right? Like they're the right after college, you go backpacking and you stay in hostels and you travel and that's a great experience. And I'm not dissing that at all, but it seemed like as we were traveling, it was like, hey, my friends and I were, Gen X. It's like we could do this too. Why especially since the pandemic had just proved that remote working works, maybe not in that exact implementation of it, but it works. And so it was like, this seems like this could be like a big thing. And
Mm.
and as I was traveling, while I wasn't working, my partner was, and I did kind of the legwork for planning all of our travel and stuff. And it's like, wow, it's kind of time consuming, and it seems risky if you didn't know what you were doing, right? And so you kind of needed some level of expertise or what to look for. Or so, like, for example, we just would bounce from Airbnb, between like Airbnbs. You kind of need to know what to look for to make sure that you have what you need. And so,
Mm.
anyways, there's like some nuances to that. And so that's where this idea of the workcation came in. It's kind of a trendy term, but it's sort of that basically working and traveling. So you're kind of, and I know, like, my friends and I think about, like, well, our job and our career is important. So it's not like we're just taking a vacation and doing a little work while we're there. It's kind of like work here. And then when you're not working, as there's a lot of hours left in the day to go explore wherever you happen to be. So that's
Exactly.
kind of like how the whole workation thing came about for me.
Mm. Exactly. You made a couple of great points during your introduction, and we'll come about those in a second. But I'm curious to know, for you, was workation a thing knew about when you started, or you kind of invented it for yourself and then discovered that it's a thing that other people are doing?
Exa- uh, so I was very familiar with the digital nomad lifestyle.
Hmm.
Um, and before I went started traveling, I thought that was like the only option, and the only option was to be full time. Like, you do this full time. You basically sell all your stuff and carry on your back what you have, what's left. Um, so I never really thought of this concept of workation as like something. Like, it was more, and that's kind of like what we did, right? So what we do is sort of a manifestation of that concept. However, as we started traveling, it was like, wow, why wouldn't you? And we slow travel, so we're staying in places for like a month at a time, off
Hmm.
in a lot of cases. And so it's like not a vacation. You're not like slamming through all these tourist things or the sights to see, right, in one week. Instead, you're kind of positioning yourself geographically in a spot, doing your job during normal business hours, and then in all, nights and weekends or whatever, when you're not working, that's when you go explore. And so that idea of, it's like a part-time digital nomad. You're not like, I think there's a lot of people that could really do this, keep their house, keep their lifestyle. It's just like you're going on a longer vacation than you would, right? And you're bringing your work with you, and that's why you could do it longer. So I just think, to me, that idea made it more accessible for so many more people that don't want to like sell all their stuff and travel full time. So I think it just kind of evolved. And then I realized, oh, there's like a name for this, or a term, right?
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
trendy term.
Exactly.
So
I think it's a much broader audience or target group for workation that people actually think that it's possible. I think it's still very early in development of the concept, and we can touch on that. Why is that so? Still, in a minute or two, but. It was a great point to highlight that not only people in their 20s or early 30s without families can do this remote work or workation setup, but older than 35 as well. And it's only about, well, it can be a lot of things, but like organization, or it can be um, also to deal with what are the terms their employees are actually have. And um, when thinking about it, in general, I think I won't say the problem, but the core of the topic is how the employees treat workation, and how do employers actually um, open up the doors or possibilities to employees, right? So in how would you define vocation in one sentence to some, or one or two sentences to someone who doesn't know what it is?
So I would say it's, if I was just to boil it down, it's traveling while working remotely. I
Hmm.
mean, that's at the simplest, but
Yeah,
it's not necessarily having to do it on a full-time basis. I
exactly,
think that's
exactly. Yeah.
so. To me, a workation has a start and an end. So it has, you know, it's February 1st to February 29 this year or whatever.
Sure.
It's like it has a start and an end point, like a vacation, but you're going longer. So I've heard some of the people in my community have talked, they call themselves part-time digital nomads. Um, I think it's also kind of like a temporary expat in a way, because you're kind of testing out these destinations, because you're kind of you're more living the life there than you are just kind of slamming through all the touristy things.
Hmm. Yeah, I would add to that. It's an opportunity for workers or employees to improve their lifestyle, their life in general. Um, Maybe people are in a position to. I mean, the life has changed a lot, and working from 9 to 5 or whatever office hours you might have is in many ways outdated concept, right? But to have the opportunity, and we are all experience it in pandemic years, is that a lot of jobs can be done remotely, and especially if it's done on a shorter term, let's say a month or two, it won't drastically impact the outcome of the work. And having the opportunity for someone to see if a certain city for them or country works for them. Maybe someone has a thought of, hey, I would maybe move to, I don't know, me being from Europe, I would say, do I want to live in New York in the future? Let's see for a month or two how it feels, and see how it goes, right? So it's a different state of mind when you go there and stay for a month or two, and you have to work there and then do some side activities that you like after working hours or during the weekend, rather than having this tourist syndrome when you just go there and everything looks like a fairy tale for a week, right? But there can be, of course, other reasons. You just want to improve your quality of life, have extended vacation days, in a sense. So many opportunities, but I think one of the reasons why it's still not or more popular than it is because of the awareness, and the other thing is that employers are not yet incorporating these things into their, let's say, package when you join the company, or for the employees to kind of offer them this opportunity to do things if it's possible, right?
Absolutely. I think I think the awareness that they can do it is a big one. And I think not having that awareness hurts people from even trying to see if their employer would be amenable to it. Uh, but I do think also a lot of employers, and I can only speak for the U.S. and I can't even speak for all of the U.S. But I think that um, a popular, it's a struggle for them for a lot of reasons. I think remote working is, I think they're slowly changing the mentality of that. I think a lot of employers especially in the big companies, and I've worked for a lot of really, really large company organizations, there's a control factor. When you have butts and chairs in the office, you can control. So everybody, all the leadership has grown up in this culture of that in-person office setting, right? So things are changing. I think as new people come in, I think that's going to change. But they also have, I mean, if you look financially at it, they have a lot of investments in commercial real estate. And so they may want to keep people in the office because they got this sunk cost that they've paid for, right? Whether or not that's, I don't know. You could spend hours talking about that, right? But I do
Exactly.
think I think you're seeing a lot of companies, and as you put it very well, it's kind of like, so corporations, businesses, and employers are all about risk, in my opinion. Everything is about risk. Okay, so if they start letting their, the feedback I've heard from some people in like HR and like C-suite, like CEOs and stuff, is, well, if I let so and so go, how do I know? Well, how do I know they're working? How do I know? Uh, how do I know it's going to be safe? There's a fiduciary responsibility for a lot of companies, right, with data and such. So there's a lot of concerns about, or what if I let someone go here and then someone else is going to go at the same time here and whatever. And what always jumps into my head is, imagine the companies when they were first bringing up the vacation policy, like that. I mean, I don't know the history of it, but it's kind of like they had to come up with a lot of these same concerns, and that would be way worse, because there you got people who could take vacation or holiday at any time or whatever, right? Like, it's just this, it's, to me, it's like that. Well, you solved it for vacation. I think that you could certainly solve this for this. And the people that I hear from, especially in like the tech, fintech sectors, they'll tell me, keep saying what you're saying because people are listening and it's happening. They're seeing more companies are like waking up to like all the benefits to this and how to attract and retain top talent. That's like the number one thing for a business, right? So while this maybe hasn't taken on like I thought it would, I mean, I thought I'd be, a bazillionaire by now trying to like promote this idea, but I think it's taking on. It's slowly changing minds.
Hmm. Definitely, it does, and I think smaller companies, or let's say startups, companies are definitely pioneers in this because they are building their companies on the idea of, in many cases, of workation or remote work or hybrid models. And I mean, it's not easy for big corporate companies to kind of switch their mentality and organization and all sorts of things that are part of remote work. It might come easy for, let's say, younger companies who are more digitalized than some other. And yeah, it's definitely a big topic for not only HR but for the managers, and there will definitely be a progress in that direction, but how fast is really up to the trend and demand, I would say, from employees, right? I mean, in the past, I remember that it was super cool to have like a ping pong table, table tennis table at the office, or things like that, free drinks, and you name it. But today, I'm seeing that a lot of companies are offering some sort of remote work benefits to their packages. And I think a lot of younger people, especially younger people, are kind of driven into these companies. It's a cool place to work. Table tennis is in the past, right? For being cool, we don't need a cool office anymore. We want to work remotely for some time during the year, and I think this is what drives people to the idea. And for let's say company branding in that direction. But moving forward, how does your business and your let's say business idea come into this world of digital nomads and remote work? What do you actually do, and what's the name of your company?
Yeah. So the first place that I started, I was actually in Mexico at the time, and it's like I should start a community of people, at least bring people. I didn't know what I was doing, so I thought, well, I'll just bring people together that are interested in this kind of topic, and then see what happens. So I started an online community called the Executive Remote Worker, and it's just a free community, and we meet online, and then what has evolved from that is taking group workations together. So there's a lot of people out there that don't, they're interested in traveling, they can work remotely, but they don't really want to go alone. So there's not really, if you think about it, there's not really a lot of options for people that don't want to travel alone, but they're not like retirees like my parents taking, tour buses and cruises and stuff like that, which aren't bad. But uh, so, anyways, so it bringing people together that like think alike and have good careers that are important to them. So like work, setting aside specific time for work, and then doing fun things when you're not working and you have other people to do them with. So that kind of evolved out of that. For example, our next trip is going to be in Croatia, in your hometown, and we're actually staying on Chiovo Island, which is just across from Split. So that's coming up in June. So that's our next one, and they're small. And so what I do with the group, well, we do. I leverage feedback from the community, but we basically find accommodation. So we're staying in a big villa with a pool, and we're walking distance to the sea and bars and restaurants and cafes and all of that stuff. So we live together, and then I have friends that I've met from my time in Croatia who are in the hospitality industry. So they will lead. Will we have like day trips and excursions that we're going to do while we're there. So we do those all. Whoever wants to do them can do them,
Mm-hmm.
and participate in those kinds of things. So we're kind of making it easy. Like we have airport transfers. So it's like we'll pick you up at the airport. You have accommodations. They're all nice, vetted, great Wi-Fi, great workspaces, and then the plan things to do for fun. So you don't even have to think about it. So that's kind of a interesting one that has evolved out of the community. And then I also there's people that maybe don't want to travel as a group, and maybe they're a family. Maybe one's parent doesn't like. Maybe one parent, I don't know, homeschools their kids. That's a perfect opportunity for a family to go somewhere for extended periods of time. If like the other spouse is working and can work remotely, the other parent is teaching, and I mean, imagine having exposing your kids to a month living in Germany if you're from the US or whatever. I mean, I think just travel is like the best educator. So I think that's really huge. So from things like that is when, or groups of friends. So out of those kinds of needs, I started planning just workation specifically for people. So that's more of like an agency or like a kind of a consulting thing for the people that don't have the time or interest in planning it themselves, but they don't want to do the group thing. So I have that as a service that I also offer. So that's kind of where the businesses lie right now. And I think what I'd love to do is to work my way into more of the corporate world, the like employers, and because I think I could get I could help a lot more people if I could do it that way. And I always have this vision in my head that, how in the employee handbook it has a section for the vacation policy. I was thinking there's probably now a policy for working from home. And then I envision a policy underneath that for workations and companies saying, as an employee, you get, I don't know, 30, 60, 90 days a year that you can work from anywhere or these countries, or, put some guardrails around it. I get that. But I think that's where I see the employer, from the employer perspective, this is going to be like a benefit. And I think it could be huge, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree on that. So just to clarify, the group that you are traveling with, all of them, or at least majority of them, will be working during the stay in Croatia, correct?
Yes. The
Great.
only the only the only caveat is I say, like, there's going to be varying degrees of working, I'm sure, but the only caveat is you can't disrupt anybody that's working when they're working. Like, that's, be respectful of that. So that's number one of importance in my mind, is like, and I think that's super important, and I want employers to know that, because it's like, we make sure, I don't want to say I'm going to rat people out, but we make sure that they have everything they need to work. This isn't like mostly vacation. If they need to work, they need to work, and we're going to make sure that they have everything they need to make that happen. So,
For sure. And yeah, I mean, thinking of the setup, so everyone would be in one house, right? All under one
yes,
roof. Yeah,
yeah,
that's I mean, first a challenge to find such an accommodation, right, to that can fit whatever number of people that you're traveling with. Then to have like a proper, let's say, working environment setup, starting with a reliable internet connection, and then maybe a working desk or something like that, like our isolated space that where you can zone out or zone
yes,
in that sense. Um, yeah, I mean, it's very important for people to know there are options out there that they can actually find such accommodation, because in many, I mean, in many places where you can book your traditional vacation rentals is the setup is not like that. I mean, if you rent like an I don't know, a room or an apartment for holidays, it will mostly be if you get the smallest table right in the room, it's for tea or for some beverages that you might have in the room. It's not very friendly in that sense for working environment. So yeah, I mean, that's why we at Homelike, we kind of have this policy or list of standards that are in service of professional workers who are actually, when they rent accommodation with us, they will get this setup of everything they need to work from their new room or apartment that when they rent with us. Um, so what would you say are the pros and cons of workation in general? Let's start with some pros that you might have in mind.
yeah. I think uh, a couple things. I think, and I've lived this. It's the whole, and this is maybe cliche, but I like the idea of making the world a smaller place. And so when people travel and experience different places that are culturally different, I think that makes the world a smaller place. That, I mean, I can tell you and I totally get that travel isn't for everybody, but I can tell you how excited I get when I see Serbia in the news, and anything, right? Croatia, Bosnia, Albania, all these places that I've spent a good amount of time the last few years. It's just like, you have this like sense of like, what are they doing to my people over there? Like, or whatever, right? Or what's going on, or some football match, and it's like, split Hadouken or whatever and stuff. It's just makes the world smaller. I think that is a huge benefit to this, because you can basically travel more, especially for the people from the US who get so little like holiday pay, paid time off. Um, but from the person, the benefit is like a lot of people like working from the same place waking up every morning, they go to the same desk in the same office. That's fine. But there's a lot of people that benefit from mixing up their workspaces from a problem solving, creativity perspective. There's just a renewed sense of energy you get from it. I think those are like really important. I think employers benefit from that as well. I think one of the community members, I think this example is really cool. He lives in South Dakota, which is kind of in the middle of the US, and has a passion for scuba diving. He's like a scuba diver.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to Roatan for 2 weeks at a time, a couple times a year, and he works during the day. He has an arrangement with his employer. He's an attorney. He has an arrangement with his employer that he needs to produce X amount of work, and then he's like, he needs to produce X amount of work for a week, per week, right? So he knows what he's got to do, what he's got to get done. And when he's done, he's like scuba diving. I mean, that's like his passion, right? You can like engage in those activities that like fuel your soul and so on, right? So I think hiking is another like example. If you, I love hiking. I'm from Minnesota, which is crazy flat, no mountains there. But we went to Slovenia and did our, well, in that case, with the time zone difference, we spent the morning and early afternoon. I literally this weekend watched a video on a drone video on YouTube of Mangard, which is like they kind of let Austrian Alps meet the Italian Alps and the Slovenian Alps. Anyways, it's just like and it was so fun because we had spent a morning hiking and we could see exactly, oh, that's the parking lot. And we walked, here and whatever, and then drove back to our apartment and started work at 3 p.m. And so we got to engage in those activities that we love to do, right? That fuel our spirit and stuff. So I just think that there's so many benefits that you position yourself, you're like, or if you just woke up, one of the members of our community said, it was crazy. Like I woke up, I did a little online reading, sent a couple emails, did a little writing of things. And then it was lunchtime and I walk out my door and I'm in Rome, and then it's just like, all of a sudden you're kind of like in your work, in your world. And then you step outside your door and it's like, oh, the Colosseum is right there. And I can walk past the Forum to the Pantheon and have a croissant and a cappuccino or what, right? It's just,
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities if you want it.
Exactly. Yeah. From your examples, I can sum it up like um, work-life balance is much better, right? So you work and then you go outside and you're in the city that you always dreamt about, or a place by the beach that you dreamt about. And on the other side, maybe for a con, I mean, one can get easily distracted, right? If you know that you're in a city with so many opportunities that you want to experience in your free time, keep being concentrated and focusing on work can be a challenge. From my personal experience, when it's a super sunny, when I'm working remote, I just lower the shades, and that's how I kind of trick the system or my mind that I'm missing out on something, right? But yeah, joking aside, I mean, uh, it really reduces the stress, right? So no matter what issue at work or ongoing challenge you have that you're working on, it's different to reset when you go outside in your hometown or in your town where you live. Just seeing the same old buildings and streets and people on the street, rather than immersing into yourself into something completely new that will open your mind and subconsciously make you think about solutions for the trouble or any stress that you might have at work, right?
Yeah. One
Yeah.
of the biggest things, so one of the things that we found, especially because we spent a lot of the summers in Europe, and along the Adriatic is a particular favorite of ours. It's like we would find ourselves so a lot of times doing things in the morning because we don't start until 3 p.m. US time, right? So
Mm.
waking up, having coffee, maybe doing a little bit of light work or something. Um, but we go to we go to the beach every day and we listen to podcasts. So we each have our own like earbuds in at the beach, and then basically it's like a system we have almost. We each have our own podcast, and then once we get kind of like hot, too warm, then it's like, okay, take it off, go in the water to cool off, and then come back and listen for a while, and then exchange. Then we talk about like later in the day or the next morning over coffee or whatever. It's where you kind of can talk about the things that you were listening to, and we share ideas and that creative. My point is like at the beach, we're kind of getting these inputs and ideas, but I think it spurs that creativity and uh, you just see the world differently. And so maybe that one little problem that you were trying to solve in your little work world, you have a whole new perspective just you know taking a break in the sun and so on. So
Yeah, it loosens you up in so many ways, but still keeps you productive and focused. As I said, subconsciously to some
yeah.
level. So, for how long will you guys be there in June? How many days?
Yeah, so that workcation is going to be about 3 weeks. It's June 10th to the 30th. So
Hmm.
yeah, we're really excited to do. We did one. This one's a little bit different. We're staying in one place for 3 weeks. In September of 22, we did one, and we started. You might be interested. We did 2 weeks in Dubrovnik, and then 2 weeks in Slatina on Chiovo. So
Hmm.
we kind of hit the southern end of the country and then a little more of the north. But so there's still so much in like Istria and Slavonia too that we haven't hit yet with a workation. Maybe that's coming up next.
Oh, for sure, yes. It's there are so many great places, and I'm seeing a rising trend of digital nomad villages. So there are a lot of, not only in Croatia but in Italy, for example, as well. There are a lot of abandoned villages that local governments or authorities are trying to revitalize in a sense, and trying to attract people to live there. And digital nomads as a group, apart from Workation, are kind of one of the targeted audience to bring some life into those abandoned villages, because there are a lot of houses that are no one lives in there, and there is infrastructure, there is all that one would need for everyday life. But yeah, with different trends, they just got, let's say, abandoned over time. So yeah, there
Yeah.
are definitely a lot of places.
And I love like what you guys are doing because I think if and this goes to what you're saying, accommodations is I would I would say accommodations is the number one most difficult part of all of this. Because if you're like a fast moving digital nomad, then maybe it's like not, yeah, you could have like a crappy apartment, one Airbnb that's not very good because it's only like a day, a night or two, and then you're on to your next one. And, odds
Mhm.
are that's going to be better or whatever. But for us, it's so important because we're staying places for like a month or two at a time or, or maybe longer. And we don't, the way that we travel, we we don't really leverage co-working spaces. So our accommodation needs to be good for working. It needs to be good for living. I mean, it has to kind of check a lot of boxes. So we're very particular. And so what you guys are doing makes it super easy for someone to like have the confidence and the know that their accommodation will suit their needs. And so I think that's like really important. And I think that's what a lot of those €1 houses that they're promoting and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all around trying to like make it easy for these remote workers in whatever flavor they are to know that they can just hit the ground running from a work perspective, and they don't have to worry about it, right? So I think that's like, I think accommodations is like the number one.
For sure, it is. I definitely think in planning. So when you have this opportunity to do remote work or workation, if it's provided by your employer, or if you're working for yourself as a freelancer or entrepreneur, it definitely becomes a challenge to find accommodation for a couple of weeks straight. Even though, I mean, someone might be renting on a daily basis, right? But their calendars get random dates booked, and you cannot find 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even longer straight to book something uh, first affordable, and then on the other end something that fits and checks all the boxes. So to become a part of your community, let's say, and to kind of take advantages of the services that you provide to your let's say clients or members, what are the steps that need to be done?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's pretty simple. I have a website, executiveremoteworker.com, and in there, I lay out all the different ways that I can help people that want to do this, um, from consulting services to the community and so on. But membership's super easy. There's a link in the website. Also, I'm on LinkedIn a lot, which is how we met. So follow me there. Uh, yeah. And I'm on Twitter, X now, I guess, too, Kristie DS. But pretty easy. I try and make it like simple. I'm not complicated, and I just kind of, this has become a passion for me, and I just want to help people and make this easy, make their lives different. Like I just think back when I started working in the late '90s, it was like there's no concept of you either I, you either didn't work or you had a job and that was it. There wasn't this. There's a lot more opportunities now. So I think that's what fuels me to help.
Yeah, for sure. Job market in general and concept of working is definitely changing every day, and especially it's gonna went into full speed with pandemic and after pandemic. One thing you didn't mention is the membership free for the
Oh,
community, or
yes. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Yeah.
Great, great,
It's a free online community.
great. Yeah, we met through LinkedIn, and I'm super super excited to see so many people in this let's say niche that are promoting different things, and I'm super glad to have the opportunity to speak to you, and again I appreciate a lot the time that you took to speak with me.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
yeah, you're welcome. And uh, so you said you're active on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just from my own curiosity, what are your best practices or go-tos when it comes to self-promotion, and what advice would you give to someone who's in this, let's maybe not this niche, but if they're starting their business, and how to build your network, and how to network in general? What works for you best?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert by any means. Because I came up in the corporate world, I already had a lot of connections on LinkedIn because that's like more professional. Um, but I think, and it sounds cliche, but I think it's true, is that you just need to show up, keep showing up every day, that consistency, and then also engaging with people. I mean, I haven't had like a viral tweet yet or anything like that, and I don't think that matters. It's like just talk about interesting things and share opinions on other people's things. And so you're kind of like participating and engaging. And I also spend time on the side. Just having conversations with people in the DMs and in the messaging in LinkedIn. So just kind of being a real person and not just like some big company or thinking you're cooler than everybody else or something. So it's never been a better time to share a message, right? You get so much exposure there. So it's just a matter of being a real person and engaging with people.
Exactly. I think also a lot of people are still afraid to share their knowledge, or they think that they don't have anything valuable to say or share. But for the people who are active, what you said, and who are being present and networking with people in the comments, and especially on LinkedIn, but on other platforms as well, the difference makes that they are getting noticed right in this way. So it takes a lot of time. It doesn't necessarily involve being salesy. I would, I mean, from my point of view, I would suggest avoiding it, being directly salesy, right? So just being a unique voice in the niche of your choice, right? And I think you picked a really good one. It's a big topic. It's a very interesting topic for a lot of people, and I think it's raising a lot of eyebrows a lot among people. Hey, why he or she can do it and I can't? And then they start to investigate and kind of get interested to the topic, and having people to talk about and consult about with, like you, definitely speaks things up rather than being on your own with Google search results, right? And trying to
Yeah.
figure it out on your own.
Yeah. I suspect it's a matter of, well, I would actually recommend, uh, okay, as the example from someone from the US going to Europe, for example, for a month.
Hmm.
Like, say you're going to, I always like the example of like Tuscany for a month. Sounds amazing to me. Um, Book your flight. Well, sort out work. Make sure that, I think, make sure that your boss is cool with it. Book your flight and book your accommodation. I personally would say I can certainly help people find connections in those places and such, but just get there and start living. And then, amazing things happen when you go to the same coffee shop every morning and start talking to people, and they know someone who knows someone who is a tour guide or whatever, or is in the industry, hospitality industry, and can take you to so and so. For example, we spent a month in Skopje in North Macedonia, and we were shopping. We just checked out the mall in town, and I ended up buying some sunglasses. It's super random, but I bought some sunglasses, and then I asked the lady that was helping me, and then at checkout, I said, do you have any recommendations on things that we should be doing when we're here? And she said, oh yeah, you need to see this and this and this. And it's like, okay, do you know anybody that, like, we don't have a car or anything. Do you know any? Oh yeah, one of my really good friends gave me the number. I WhatsApped him. Awesome guy. He's like, now if we go back to Skopje, he's like my go-to driver, and I tell all my friends that are going there, and he took us all over. Like, amazing. That's the kind of like experiences I want other people to have.
For sure. Yeah, when you were saying that, I kind of had in my mind that a lot of people are in their screens still, right? Even though they would go in such a place, they would type in rent a car or Uber or whatever, right? So maybe just it's a great thing that you mentioned that being part of the community, of local community, is a very important thing, because you can learn so many things, and people should kind of stay
Yeah.
away, or at least move away from their screens, and just interact with people when they have such unique opportunities to embrace other cultures, and yeah, just take well, I won't say advantage, but have the opportunity to for others to help them, right?
And learn. And that's
And
your
learn.
opportunity for learning. And that's what travel is all about. I mean,
Yeah.
also language, same thing. Um, I use those long flights to listen to my Pimsleur audiobooks to like learn some of the language. I'm not saying I can hold a conversation or anything in these languages, but just as you're experiencing life at the bakery or at the coffee shop or the grocery store, throw out some the language, and
Yeah.
you have an instant connection, and it's just this win-win experience. So anyways, I think there's so many
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, people appreciate the effort, and sometimes find it very cute or appealing
Yeah.
when someone tries to pronounce right
That's
the
it too.
local word.
Even if you pronounce things wrong, they'll laugh, they'll giggle, or that's like, oh, that's cute. It's it still is a connection, right? It's
Exactly.
at my expense.
Great. Yeah. So to wrap things up, just let us know. Apart from you're currently in the US, right?
Yes, yes.
So what's coming up before Croatia, or do you plan to stay in the
Yeah,
US?
so I think there's a lot of like business things that we need to take care of in the US, so we're going to stick around here and do that. And then the plan now is, well, we have flights booked to Budapest in early June, so um, that gets us over to Europe, and then from there you can basically go, as you know, anywhere from there. So
Great. Thank you again for your time, Kristie. And we'll leave in the description all the contact profiles that where they can find you, where our viewers can find you, and hopefully get in touch with you and become part of the executive remote work community. And yeah, best of luck in 2024. Of course, we'll be in touch via LinkedIn. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out directly to me. But in general, yeah, looking forward to your new Croatian adventure. And maybe if I'll be there, I'll reach out for us to grab a coffee in
oh
person.
yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.